Hey, have you noticed how modern construction is awfully designed and they just like one box on top of another box and then they stick us in a box and that's how it's supposed to be our house? It's awful, man.
What if I tell you though that life used to be outside the box once upon a time?
Wow, there was a better way, and that's what we discuss in today's podcast, like how your life could be better if people just give you a better place to live, right? And also, why is everybody in real estate so shady, dude?
Yeah, what is with that?
Yeah, man, so shady. The fun thing is that they say that innovation and new things come when a lot of different people of different backgrounds meet,
exactly.
right? And if right now those spaces in like India are now becoming like harder to find, where the point is when you chill with like say a blacksmith or you chill with say a potter,
Yeah, the chances
Or
of that now
electrician.
is like so low, basically.
My point is, it's as it is due to stratification of our society that was happening less, and because of the caste system that was happening less, now it's getting worsened.
Because of our living situation, like
Correct.
how we are propagating this whole capitalist housing and construction kind of industry.
Correct.
And honestly, I'll tell you why I think like why we start discussing this. Honestly, is because in 2018, one of the architects in our Indian architects, B.V. Doshi, he won the Pritzker Prize, which is the Nobel Prize for Architecture, like the same equivalent, right? And he won it for a low-cost housing he made in Indore called Aranya.
Okay.
ठीक है? And I think what his conceptualization for that housing was so apt and so like correct for us as people, because he was like, nowadays we're just like looking at like ourselves. Basically, like you buy a flat, हम interiors अपने हिसाब से करेंगे, whatever, and हम बाहर देखते ही नहीं है. But he designed something where people are forced to look outwards.
Correct.
So he made like a few one bedroom houses for like low cost, and some bigger ones for people who have little more money, right?
Correct.
But he focused all those like variety on like inwards towards like a park or a courtyard or something like that. So he would force people to interact with each other.
Got it.
Right? So as a designer, what is your duty when it comes to designing? Anything, like forget architecture also, anything. It's to enable the best out of something. Like if you're designing a product, it should be like, my aim is that this product will not only do its basic functionality, that is house people, but it will also encourage a plethora of other things which I would think that we thrive on.
Got it.
So apart from that, another thing that he used for Indian culture wise was that he realized that we thrive on making a place our own. So he left room for people to grow.
Got it.
So he like there were rooms and there are parts of their houses which are left incomplete. कि भाई तुम लोग को जो करना है वो यहाँ पे कर लो.
Got it.
And because he left particular spaces incomplete, he basically zoned that area out कि यहाँ पे people will do community stuff.
Got it.
यहाँ पे people will decide कि यहाँ पे garden बनाना है हमें. यहाँ पे people will be like, and it's actually, when I'm saying it like this, obviously it feels very easy. But people don't think this way anymore.
To be honest, I feel if you're talking about say community spaces and housing, this thing, I think one thing that has to be addressed is that if there is individuality and clarity on one side, there's also the problem with community spaces that sometimes they could get too traditional and can really impose down their value systems and lock spaces out for other people. Say for example, it's all well and good when you're within the bounds of say society, but say you have a different sexual orientation, you are from a different religion than what the community is used to,
right?
Or if you are say single, unmarried, single mother, anything in the spectrum that doesn't fall under what the society deems acceptable always causes weird reactions when a space is completely community focused.
Right.
So
it magnifies those people who are different.
Correct. So part is, as much as societies and all these places are like considerate towards each other because of the network that is formed, So that's why individuality, when it gets focused, and the fact that I don't have to communicate or rely on other people, also gives me the independence to be whoever I want,
Right.
without facing the constant scrutiny or even scorn. Like I don't want to be thrown out. Na कि मेरा thought अलग है, अलग kind of इंसान, इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी that you just don't allow me a space only.
Right.
So when I think the other point against say community spaces, against spaces that are too overtly focused on connection, is that it, like you said, individuality to hai, but it also becomes like a limiting factor.
Got it.
Like you must have seen those signs outside, no? Unmarried couples not allowed, people in this profession not
Bachelors not allowed.
Haan,
Foreigners not allowed.
Correct. And these are all in society buildings, by the way. Most singular buildings or buildings that are on their own don't tend to have this restriction. It's more on like case to case basis.
Right.
So as much as I won't call housing society like community living in terms of like the whole design.
Yeah.
But a completely integrated community.
Just people living together, basically.
Yeah. Also becomes very focused on what the value system of that community is. And if it is not a match, you will be rejected hardcore.
Right.
Also, to be different in highly interwoven communities is also hard. So suppose you are born into one of these and you are very different. It's so much harder to break out and form your own identity when you're so locked in.
Correct.
So I feel that that's
So it's basically that the problems that families are having, but on a macro scale.
correct.
Right? Because a lot of people have these problems within their families. Like, I'm different too, my sexual orientation is different, whatever.
Correct.
My family has issues with it, I can't do anything, whatever. So that kind of thing, but it's blown out of proportion because it's on such a large scale. Like,
Correct.
multiple families have the right
Correct.
to talk about it or whatever.
Yeah. Right. And what happens is, like, say, right now, at least you're dealing with only your family.
Right.
Now, imagine also the hard rejection you will feel, or how difficult it will be if you're now going to be thrown out from the spaces you have gotten so used to be your own. So I feel individualistic. So if I have to play the devil's advocate and actually play and work for, say, the developers and like this impersonal kind of construction, I feel on the other hand definitely amplifies individualism.
Right.
But again, to be honest, the construction guys don't really care.
Yeah, they're
build houses.
They're not building it so that everyone can thrive.
No, but my point is these housing societies are the problem. They'll throw a temple in there if they want to make it all Hindu, and if it sells, they'll throw a mosque in there, right? And they'll throw an entertainment system in there, and if you like, they want all religions to like buy into that society, right?
Yeah.
So basically, into the whole construction of housing societies, and this thing is not exactly community promoting.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like whenever you see the old city, right, where it's completely chaotic, where every religion, everyone is like kind of living together, but also because it is so compressed, it is both in a weird way you are dependent on the people around you, but also you are like there's a certain amount of, say, differentness that is accepted.
Right.
Because so many different people are just living together.
Got it.
So because of that, everyone is used to the idea, concept of कि okay, हाँ अलग-अलग लोग रहते हैं.
And everyone is more indifferent to those things that would be amplified in another situation. Like, whatever, sexual orientation or religion or whatever. Because you're so used to this, you become indifferent to it.
Correct.
Like, the more variety or diversity of people who live around you constantly, the more open to those ideals you're going to be.
Correct.
That's just what it is. And obviously that would be an ideal housing society where everyone is allowed to live and no one is, you get used to it. Correct. Like if you have a housing society like that and you have a child, that person's going to grow up in that environment.
Correct.
So that person will never be biased against anyone, any religion, any sexual orientation or whatever. Obviously that is like a very ideal situation, but that is the aim, right? Like that should be the aim rather.
Correct. But that's why I feel, so then it becomes like this really weird balancing act now you're stuck in.
Yeah.
Where you're like, ek jagah you need hyper individualism, where you're so self-sufficient, you don't need anyone. Because you could be so different that the society is at odds with you. But that doesn't take away your right to be in a space or take up a space or like live in that space.
Correct.
But on the other hand, you have society spaces as well, right? Which are amazing and will feed that human sense of like connectivity and interdependence that is unique to our country and like general social socially fulfilling.
Correct. Yeah.
But now, so they're like those two things are like very difficult to like reconcile.
Absolutely.
With each
Yeah.
other.
This is like more of a mindset thing, right? Because like, as I have been saying over and over again in this podcast, I feel like what also applies the other way. Because I have been talking about how we should be mindful of who we are and then accordingly design stuff and accordingly do stuff. This also is a thing that, you know, people are biased against a religion or biased against this or biased against that. That is also a mindset that we have to consider.
Correct.
And that is like, so how would a designer overcome so many problems, right? So usually what people do is like they design on a macro scale or a micro scale, or they design from micro to macro or macro to micro, basically.
Okay.
So designing on a macro scale is just doing zoning, right? कि इस कोने में मैं क्लब हाउस बनाऊंगा, इस कोने में 1 BHKs होंगे, इस कोने में 2-3 BHKs होंगे. So like that, you're already putting certain people in certain places. If you put all the 1 BHK together, all the bachelors are going to stay there.
Correct.
If you're putting 2-3 BHKs together, all the families are going to stay there.
Correct.
So already you're appeasing whatever, and you have like an area which is just for community. So on the macro scale already you're doing this segregation, right? And the micro scale will happen if like एक floor पे अगर मैं lobby space बनाऊंगा तो वो कितना बड़ा होगा? Will it be enough to play cricket if the light goes? Will the people from all the flats come out in the lobby if the light goes? Things like that.
Correct.
So if you are trying to overcome these biases, how would you do it? Is something that people also have to consider.
Correct.
So this is what I'm saying from when people are not considering this anymore. One template for everyone.
Correct.
Is the going thing. लोधा क्या कर रहा है? एक टेम्पलेट पे सारा अपना बिजनेस खड़ा किया है उसने, ऑनेस्टली. एक बिल्डिंग इज देयर, irrespective of what climate it is, irrespective of where in Mumbai it is, it will be the same design. Nothing is taken care of when it comes to what is around it. Nothing is taken care of when it comes to what kind of area it is. Nothing. So this is what I'm talking about, कि thought process जो change करना है, it should start on such a basic level at this point कि lot of things will have to change from up to down.
Got it.
So the final जो pass हो रहा है, government is sanctioning a plan. Correct. That is not even the problem at this point, because how that plan which is going to the government for sanctioning is only kharab.
So here's the thing, I feel with it's you're right, it's the combination of two, but here's where the solution can be. I feel from a policy standpoint, governments need to understand that over density is not solution. Secondly, put the onus of good design on the builders. Set up regulations, you know what I mean? Let's say, and here's the thing, I feel first things foremost, any spaces that builders build, like facilities for say a housing society, by mandate should be made public.
Right.
Like instead of say walling off, all you get to do is provide these built up spaces as proximity to your residents, but you don't get to wall them off. Like if you made a park or whatever, it should be
so compulsory public amenities.
Yeah, basically whatever you can give amenities to your people, but you can't wall them off.
Right.
And for that you can give them subsidy or whatever. Or as a matter of fact, you have to tell, okay, you whatever builders, like 10-15 builders in that area want to like develop it, you develop it, but this much amount of space, right? The space you're going to be giving to your own residents, whatever facilities you build them, have someone maintain it or whatever, but it cannot be walled. Right. So much so you can even be like, you can charge say a nominal fee for other people to come visit it. Correct. If they're not from society, like $50.
मतलब how parks charge like.
Correct. But you fees. Cannot wall them. Right? You just cannot wall them. Because see, what's happened is, it's ridiculous how many sporting facilities, how many basketball courts, how many swimming pools are lying underutilized in the hundreds of housing societies in Pune city. Underutilized. Right? And on the other hand, there are kids outside who are not going to use them. Societies get pissed and angry, then other people use it. So I'm saying, first of all, as a decision, I feel at a policy level, it should be break down the wall. No walls.
Right.
Secondly, I feel there has to be what do you call allowing like certain spaces in every, like after say a certain point, certain areas just have to be demarcated where people can just generally buy land, or like it's allocated randomly.
Got it.
So to create spaces that are born organically. You know, like for example,
Like no construction is allowed here, even if you own it, basically.
correct, yeah. Just like generally, just leave it. Because now what's happening in cities right now is, like, as you're already aware, here on the outskirts of the city, this whole mohalla system will get built. People will go buy small plots of land, develop it, ensures water, electricity comes in. They'll do all the hard work. And these are the people, the working class people of the city or this thing, who have worked hard, gathered the money, bought land outside, built it up, created the mohallas, really allowed the city to expand. And when it's done, you know, somebody will come and buy that land off, demolish it and
make a
housing society. And now the same people who originally used to live there can't afford it anymore and are pushed again to the outskirts of cities. So basically,
it's an endless cycle.
Yeah, so it's like basically these guys are the frontier people, right? They go do all the hard work, and then later the big guys.
George Washington walks in.
Yeah, this is like just walk in and be like, thank you. Look like, it's mine now, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where all those like gundas get employed also, right? Somebody's not selling their land, we'll make your life miserable.
Yeah, but like, see, the problem always is coming from the money right now. Currently, the problem is coming from money only. Yeah. But I think, like, you know, even if you think like on a very conceptual level, I think people are forgetting, again, going back to the original thing, that people are forgetting their roots only. But this has like a weird parallel which I found, which was very surprising to me, because you know what theology is, right? It's like a study of religion.
Got it.
So like just religion, how people follow it or whatever. But there is this thing called bottom-up theology, right? Which is basically that you should be talking to, like, it's stemming from basic human experience. So you've removed all the fluff aside, all the foo-foo stuff, all the amenities, whatever. How do you feel in this space? The most basic human experience. And bottom-up theology concentrates on the least, the last, and the lost. So the people who you would not even consider asking, you know, what do you think about this space? Do you think it's excessive? Like, if you call someone off the road into our office only, they'll be like, wow, my whole family will fit in this room.
Correct.
Right? So this is just a concept. So if somebody just as a designer starts applying different concepts to just the thought process. You know, while I'm making this housing society, for example, now I've got a plot of land, I have to make a housing society. But if I'm not thinking about all these things, I am going to make an inward-facing thing. How to sell the maximum flats, how to make each flat self-sustainable and not this entire housing society self-sustainable. That sort of thing. And this, even thinking about these things, these conceptual things, is like ignored completely. Like now you have like full ass firms working on housing societies and concepts and everything, but their concepts are not related to these basic things. They are mostly related to is FSI में कितने flats fit कर सकते हैं.
Correct. Actually इसमें मुझे theology का connection समझ में नहीं आया.
So
like, because see, from where I stand, theology का that approach is set, right? The least, the
last and the lost.
Least, the last and the lost. Now I understand these words, but this in context of construction I didn't understand. Because मुझे तो ऐसा लगा कि what you are saying is that when people don't look at the perspective of other people who normally don't are out of your visual range, right? You create things that start deviating from reality.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what I'm saying.
I feel like right now we have some random housing projects coming up, which are bizarre, dude. Like, for example, right now I just saw one in the city where they're planning to put 5,000 people. I kid you not, 5,000 people in like one ginormous tower. It's like this huge sprawling tower complex. We'll put up an image here, right? It's called Future Towers. It's huge. Massive. Dude, it looks like from like a cyberpunk dystopia. They have put an entire town and stuffed it into a tower. It's like super high density housing. It is so dense that within the building, they've had to make parks and places for people to relax, because otherwise it is so oppressive. And guess what? So this high density, ridiculous housing is being sold as premium.
Yeah. Future towers flats are so expensive.
But if you
it takes 1,000 years to navigate that building. I have been there. It's awful.
Dude, it looks like a prison. Like, dude, so it looks like a prison cell. So basically, and every time you're at a window, it looks like all the other windows are staring you down, right? And so that essentially looks like a panopticon. You know what a panopticon is? So
we put an image again. Right?
Yeah, we put an image. But panopticon is basically a prison where all the prisoners can't see each other, but they can all see a tower in which the prison guard is, and the prison guard can always see them. So the feeling is, as a person who's in a, say, panopticon or a prison, they always feel that they can be watched at any time. So they always have to behave a particular way. This is not how housing societies should be built. You're not supposed to be in a panopticon, right? And that tower feels like that.
It does sound like that.
So I'm saying, and that is being touted. It's called future towers. It's being touted as the future of, say, housing and development. So
I understand what they're talking about, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
No, my point is, I don't care at this point. I don't care कि तुम्हारा idea काम कर रहा है कि नहीं. If it catches on, you're talking about dystopic cities. You're talking about cities that look like these massive monolithic, ginormous complexes that will house like almost a population of like towns in it, dude.
Yeah.
So your address will no longer be area code. Your address will be building code, because जितना तुम्हारे मोहल्ले में जितने लोग रहते थे ना, your area is now a tower. Tower 6B.
Super dense, no? Super dense.
Yeah, so Tower 6B से हूँ मैं. Oh, अच्छा, that part of the city. I've heard Tower 6B has very nice samosas.
Yeah.
Like, the concept of an address that is based on locality will go away, because your locality won't matter, because you never leave the damn tower. You getting it?
Yeah.
So tower से क्यों निकलेगा? Tower से बाहर जाएगा. The building fell only has set up like there'll be a kirana or something inside that only.
Yeah.
Cigarette topper inside.
Correct.
Maybe one part of your tower will be the shady part of the tower. Where all the disc clubs are, or like the drug dealers hang out. Like some एक ही tower में. Dude, what the fuck? It's awful. Like so
what was happening on a macro scale is happening in that tower.
But my point is, what we're discussing right now is already upon us.
Yeah, it's here.
They're doing this to us.
Dude, my family is living in that same township where that future towers is, and honestly, I was thinking about this recently only, that we were staying on the 25th floor.
Correct.
ठीक है? अब उस wing में, like honestly that building has like 4 flats plus 4 flats on each floor. But we are like, I consider only our floor flats as one building. ठीक है? So first to 25th floor, 4 flats. 25 floors, so already like 25 into 4, 100, right? So 400 people, say for example, that's not even how many people live there, there are many more.
Correct.
I don't know anybody in that building. Like, I know 2 people, and that too because I went down and helped with the Ganesh Chaturthi ka decorations.
Wow.
Like, and those 2 people are the only people who still talk to me. I knew a bunch of other people who I don't know what they're doing anymore. And it's all like this only, like a festival time, someone will come and collect chanda and something like that. Because that is how we function, right? Because no one is going to, society is not going to pay for all that stuff. We only will have to do it. So, aise karke, I know 4 people, maybe. And now we are leaving that society and I'm like, I have taken away nothing from this. Absolutely nothing. I used that swimming pool 2 times. I went to that gym 4 times in 7 years.
Wow. So actually, I mean, they counter people not using it, those facilities, so that way they can like attach more people to it.
They'll be like, if we add more people in this building, maybe we can use that.
Yeah. So actually, so now coming to form like this point of like we are getting to this really weird high density, I don't know, dystopian housing, right? So my point is, the more we are trying to control like how we live or how humans should live, the more unnatural things are getting. Like humans are not meant to live like ants or bees or hives, right? So the weird thing is that we as a species, human beings, have the technology and the know-how to build really unique cities, a very unique way of like high density housing. We actually have the technology to build cities that can look almost like forests.
Correct.
Like actually sprawl the city out, have forests and places incorporated into it, have efficient transport systems connecting them. Like this is not some far-fetched technology. This is present day technology. The problem here is of thought process. It's like,
it's absolutely a thought process.
As humans, we have not updated our thinking in a way.
Yeah.
That we're not updated ki, oh shit, this is another way of living, and here things are just gone out of hand, so now we're just rolling with it, seeing where it goes.
So like you were talking about the solution, like, right, that government should not pass only those plans which are like that. But अगर वो plans ही नहीं पहुंचेंगे government के पास तो कितना अच्छा होगा?
I feel the topic about like living spaces and like how we live and this thing is a very like detailed and complex one. Now the point is, I feel like from a layman perspective, like as us, like what are the questions we should examine? Like you and me or anyone who's listening to the podcast, like ये सब तो ठीक है. It's like we can shake our hands angrily and scream at the man and capitalism for being like, nahi, you have ruined everything. So then how does a person who's like react to like creating their living spaces? So I think what's important is to try and look at these things and actually take one step backwards, right? Like if I'm saying if you are looking for a house or a place for yourself, I think my guide would be take one step back, right? Actually look at it for what it is. Don't buy into the marketing. You know what I mean? The point is, the moment you go and they say, "Arey, bahut acha hai, luxury hai, वगैरह," just take all those words away and just look at the space for what it is. Because sometimes an old house that is on its own, with some character, might be a better choice than some fancy new place, right? And they might be at the same price point also. My point is, you never know what is right for you. And to find those spaces that are right and fitting and interesting for you, you need to be able to look at it devoid of all these lenses that people are putting in front of you.
Yeah.
They're just marketing terms here. Luxury, not luxury, fancy, non-fancy. You go and check the places that they have not branded for you, Go see a place that is ki, oh, यहाँ पे तो सिर्फ working class लोग रहेंगे, for example.
Correct.
You don't know that. You know what I mean? Like they have just put that tag there. You don't know if that space will probably be better for you or not. You don't know whether something fancy that's been marketed cutting edge might actually just be a fancy slum.
Yeah.
You
That's
don't know that.
What, like, of... Yeah.
Yes, you're talking about Lodha and all of that, right? How do you know that is not a fancy slum? It really is. It's just like अच्छा fittings डालने से घर अच्छा नहीं बनता है. You know what I mean? Like you have to figure these questions and answers out for yourself to find out कि किधर क्या है, कहाँ क्या हो सकता है,
Absolutely.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's so weird that this is such a basic human need. And we are all desperately trying to like get to finding like a good house and housing and this thing. Yeah. But in this place itself, there is so much chaos that where you put so much of your money and you feel you are the least in control. And I think that's why it's important that you get that control back, at least psychologically when you're building a house or finding a home for yourself. Because no matter what, because it's such a huge investment and you're getting into, don't let the lines be defined by those who are trying to sell you something.
Yeah, exactly. And those who do not understand you at all. Like no one is really building a flat for you, right? So you can always search for something that suits you.
Correct. Yeah. Better still, go to the outskirts and start your own mohalla. Or better still, start a commune, man. So actually, I feel best ये होना चाहिए that everybody should find the group of 5. Like you know what, this will be my company. मैं building, मुझे भी real estate में घुसना है. मैं भी बहुत ऐसा shady इंसान बनेगा.
Buy like an acre of land.
हाँ, ऐसा Fortuner लेके मस्त काला shades लेके मैं घूमेगा. ऐसा, because I feel that's like the entry kit, right? If I have to be in real estate, buy a Fortuner. Black shades, have some land.
Yeah.
I feel इससे ज़्यादा you don't need much.
Correct. Yeah.
है ना, बस लेके घूमेगा and then basically cajole like a group of friends together, like just like round them up and just kidnap them in your Fortuner. It's like they're like,
There's plenty of space.
yeah, so like catch your friend, throw them into the Fortuner. ऐसे जाने का 4-5 बार, you've gathered enough friends, and then you take your property and develop it into something you want. So now what you have is a mohalla complex you have built on the basis of your friend circle.
True, very
right?
true.
And then you make 5-6.
And obviously you can pick and choose, right? This friend will be useful because he's a chef.
Yeah, this friend's a doctor. ऐसा वैसा डाल के डाल देने का अंदर. And then now you have a very nice comfortable spot, ठीक है? जहाँ पे so everybody is put up and you have like enough space and you know everybody. खाना वाला बनेगा.
What more do you want?
ऐसा barbecue parties in the evening.
Everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy,
and no murdering and all will happen.
Correct, yeah. ऐसा we can get like tons of dogs also. मस्त. हाँ, ऐसा ही करने का. लेने का लोगों को. So actually, dude, okay, imagine this future, okay, where real estate companies are now competing to get people by literally kidnapping them and throwing them into houses. Oh, here's the future, bro. इतना future हो गया है कि इतने घर खाली पड़े हैं. Now, gundas do the opposite. Like now how gundas are like throwing people someone out so the builders can take over.
Throwing people
in. Like literally they'll find. So like,
you live here now.
You live here now, exactly. तो ऐसा office से आ रहा है, IT job कर रहा है, whatever. They'll catch you, take all your stuff and throw you into a flat and be like, ये अब तेरा घर है.
You have no say in this.
No say in it.
Okay,
the hafta is the EMI. You have no say in it now. अब you raw ऐसा. That's the, you know what? I called it first. There'll be like these. You know what? There'll be like this competition between relocation companies, and they are like hired by different builders. Basically, their job is who can rope in as many people first. ठीक है? They just come, pick up your stuff, and shifted it.
My goodness.
Yeah. And basically now, imagine that, man. Hoga, dude. Basically, the moment you can afford a house, you're now at risk at getting caught by one of these guys.
And obviously they would know because the banks are involved.
Yeah. That's the future. I see it. इतना खाली घर है that they will be filling it with whoever they can, shove inside.
Damn.
You know what? I would also say that. So right now you know that, right? India has way more houses than we need.
Yep.
But they're just lying empty because we refuse to drop the.
Yeah, buy. कोई कर ही नहीं सकता buy उसको. क्या करेंगे?
हाँ, so they're artificially inflated. Abhi yaar, please don't ask me. Just read up on Google's. There are people telling you why it is so expensive and it shouldn't be. But the thing is, so if it continues. Imagine that, okay, you join a company and now the company you have joined for work has a tie-up with the relocation company. The HR will leak your data and the raste mein get kidnapped, thrown into the house and locked up. EMI ke sath locked. So now company has incentive. Kyunki you have to pay EMI, you can't leave the job.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. This is the future, guys. Or is it the present? Have they already kidnapped you?
Yikes.
Comment. Let us know if you've already been kidnapped and you don't even know it. You heard it first at Padhaku Panda. Have you heard of this experiment known as the behavioral sink?
No, please explain.
Sounds
damn cool.
So what happened is, back in the day, there was this scientist and he wanted to know how creatures would respond to living in like say city-like kind of atmosphere.
Right.
So who did they experiment on? Something they consider very close to human beings. Mice.
Yeah.
So they took mice and built literally a little utopia, future towers, if you will, like a 5,000
Mice future towers.
Mice future tower, like a 5,000 housing.
That would be really cute, though. I would watch that.
Yeah, you are, because I'm going to describe it in detail. So what's happening is they made like this really cute mice, this beautiful tower, right, and where they had enough space to grow and like increase in population. Right, and then they gave everybody was given food, comfortable housing.
Everyone is given their own premium flat.
Literally, they were actually given. So what happened? As you would expect, initially population exploded and population had to rise and all the housing started getting filling up and this thing and everything is going. And then they started realizing, okay, so as the population started peaking, right, and the space started going. By the way, there's still no food shortages. Things started getting weird because then as places start getting packed, just randomly. The mice aggression, they start becoming super aggressive.
About what? Like about ownage, like space and all?
No, just generally.
Generally,
They don't need to fight. So there was like one section. So here's the thing. So as they didn't have to like scavenge and stuff, right? And had to spend all their day finding food and all.
Yeah.
Weird shit started happening. One entire section just started fighting each other. This thing, killing off weaker ones. Other ones just sat in the corner eating and becoming fat and not wanting to leave their flat only. Then there was an entire subsection that was only concerned with grooming themselves. They'd just be like, I want to look pretty. It literally happened. This is a real experiment. You can read up. It was cited. It's amazing. And then what happened is, and then all these people who were into grooming and this thing never had any kids. Stopped having kids. But they're like, I just want to take care of myself. And society, like whatever.
The fighting people were just killing each other.
And the fighting, there's murdering. They started, those guys are other extreme. Killing and created their own harems and shit. Then these other guys are coming and fighting each other for their harems. Like, it's like one weird underclass. Right? And then it got so bad that initially the population spike happened. And then because of all this chaos, the birth rate fell below the recoverable limit and the whole colony collapsed. It came to like an awful end. Everyone was dead. And that's a positive note we're leaving this podcast on. But I was saying, it's called the behavioral sink. And then everybody looked at this experiment and went, wait a minute, is that what's going to happen to like us? And in a way, the guy who did the experiment said both yes and no. He said yes if the condition those mice were living in was so unnatural. So it's not about just food. It's not about just space. It's about living also. And when you can't live, that is the natural outcome of, say, an urban setting. So my point is that we better start like really re-examining the stuff around us and start asking questions, because if left to their own devices, they are going to stick us up in a little tower of our own.
Yep. And it's going to be sold to you at a premium cost, so you think it's good.
Everybody sells everything at premium cost these days. I mean, you can sell chips at premium cost.
That's true.
Cold drinks at premium cost. Everything is premium cost. Like, share and subscribe to our podcast. This was Padhaku Panda. We talk about a lot of fun stuff as well. This time we deep dived into why you should not be living in a hole or in a tree house or like wherever. Yeah, but seriously, like you should definitely live.
And if you're a designer, please have some morals.
Architect, you mean?
I mean, a designer.
Designers are architects. Architects are designers.
Both ways, I guess. Not all designers are architects.
Not all designers are architects. Or all architects are designers.
All architects are designers.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but who listens to architects now? Architects are forced to do the bidding of their moneyed overlords.
That's what, na? That is... It's all coming from there only. Please leave your comments and please subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon and tell us what you thought about this podcast. If you have anything to add, we definitely read them.
Correct, yeah. Definitely comment and see if you like this format. If you have anything you want us to deep dive into, let us know.